It was one of those bitterly cold evenings in November, the kind where the wind cuts through even the thickest coat, and the streets of a small Ohio town glowed faintly under flickering streetlights. Daniel Brooks, a 38-year-old single father, tightened his jacket and rubbed his hands together as he finished loading groceries into the backseat of his beat-up Ford. His daughter, Emily, sat inside, wrapped in a pink blanket, humming softly to a Christmas tune playing on the old car radio. "Daddy, can we have hot chocolate when we get home?" she asked, her voice sweet but tired. Daniel smiled, closing the trunk. "If we still have cocoa left, sweetheart. But we might have to make do with warm milk tonight." She giggled, the sound melting away a bit of the weight in his chest. Times were hard, harder than he liked to admit. After his wife passed away 3 years ago from cancer, Daniel had been doing his best to raise Emily alone. He worked long shifts at the local auto repair shop, taking on extra hours whenever he could, but the bills seemed to come faster than the paychecks. He started the engine and pulled onto the highway, the wipers squeaking as the first drops of freezing rain began to fall. About 10 miles down the road, something caught his eye. A car pulled over to the shoulder, hazard lights blinking in the dark. As he drove closer, he saw a woman standing beside it, wrapped in a long coat, clearly shivering. Her car hood was open, steam rising from the engine. Daniel slowed down. He glanced at Emily in the rearview mirror. "Dad, what's wrong?" "Someone's in trouble." "I'll just see if I can help." "Stay here, okay?" He pulled over behind the stranded car, grabbed his flashlight, and stepped out into the cold wind. The woman turned toward him, startled at first, then relieved. "Oh, thank God," she said. "You're the first person who's stopped in almost an hour." "No problem," Daniel said kindly. "Looks like your car overheated. You from around here?" She shook her head, her breath visible in the icy air. "I'm driving from Columbus. I had a hearing scheduled for tomorrow morning, but it looks like the weather's trying to stop me." "A hearing?" Daniel asked as he peered into the engine. "You a lawyer or something?" "Something like that," she said with a small smile. After a few minutes of checking, Daniel sighed. "Your radiator's cracked. There's no fixing that out here tonight." Her face fell. "Great. Just perfect." She hugged her arms tightly. "There's no cell signal here either. I tried calling for a tow, but—" Daniel thought for a moment. "Listen, I live about 15 minutes down the road. You can wait at my place till morning. It's warm, and I'll call a mechanic friend who can tow your car at first light." Her eyes flickered with hesitation. He could see she was weighing her options, trust a stranger or stay stranded in the cold. But then she looked at his car, where little Emily's face peeked out from the back window, and she nodded. "That would be incredibly kind of you." "Thank you." Daniel smiled. "Hop in. Name's Daniel, by the way." "I'm Claire," she said softly as she climbed into the passenger seat. Back at Daniel's small rented home, the warmth of the old furnace greeted them. It wasn't much, a modest 2-bedroom house with peeling wallpaper and mismatched furniture, but it was clean, cozy, and filled with small signs of love. Emily's crayon drawings taped on the fridge, a half-decorated Christmas tree in the corner, and the smell of freshly baked bread lingering in the air. "Wow," Claire said, smiling gently. "Your daughter has quite the artistic hand." Daniel chuckled. "Yeah, she's got big dreams. Says she's gonna be a painter in New York someday." Emily blushed, hiding behind her dad's arm. "Daddy says if I work hard, anything's possible." Claire knelt to Emily's level. "He's right, sweetheart. That's exactly how you should dream." After a simple dinner of soup and bread, they sat by the fire. Claire offered to help clean up, but Daniel insisted she rest. There was a quiet kindness in him, a humble dignity that made her feel unexpectedly safe. "You live here alone?" she asked as he dried the dishes. "Just me and Emily." "Been that way for a while," he replied softly. "Lost my wife to cancer." Emily was only 5. "I'm so sorry," Claire said, her voice full of sympathy. Daniel nodded, eyes fixed on the flames. It's been hard, but she keeps me going. Every day. For a while, they just listened to the fire crackle. There was something peaceful about the simplicity of his life, the love that filled the little gaps of hardship. The next morning, Claire's car was towed away. She thanked Daniel repeatedly, offering to pay him, but he refused. Don't worry about it. Just glad you're safe, he said with a warm smile. Before leaving, Claire looked at Emily. You're lucky, young lady. Your dad's a good man. Emily beamed. I know. Claire drove off, waving, while Daniel and Emily stood by the mailbox, waving back. He didn't know it yet, but that small act of kindness was about to change his life forever. 2 weeks later, Daniel's world turned upside down. He'd been struggling for months to keep up with mortgage payments on his small house, but he'd fallen behind. That morning, a letter arrived, official-looking, stamped with the county seal. His heart sank as he read the words, "Notice of foreclosure hearing." He'd missed too many payments. The bank was taking him to court. He sat at the kitchen table, head in his hands, as Emily played quietly in her room. The thought of losing her home, made his stomach twist. He couldn't let it happen. A week later, he found himself standing outside the courthouse, wearing his only decent suit. It was raining again, just like the night he'd found Claire. He took a deep breath and walked inside. The courtroom was quiet, almost intimidating. The clerk motioned him to sit while the judge entered. He stood respectfully, and then froze. It was her. The woman from the highway. Claire. But now, she was dressed in a black robe, her hair neatly tied back, her face composed yet warm. Her nameplate read, Judge Claire Reynolds. Daniel's heart pounded. She looked up, saw him, and for a brief second, surprise flickered in her eyes. Then she regained her composure. Good morning, she began, her voice steady. We're here to review the foreclosure case of Daniel Brooks. Daniel swallowed hard. He had no lawyer, he couldn't afford one. When the opposing counsel spoke, listing his missed payments and debt, Daniel felt smaller and smaller. When it was his turn, he stood shakily. Your Honor, I know I've fallen behind. My wife passed away, and I've been raising my daughter alone. I'm working double shifts, doing everything I can. I just need a little more time. Please. The room was silent except for the ticking clock. Judge Reynolds looked at him, her eyes softening ever so slightly. After reviewing the papers, she asked, Mr. Brooks, if given more time, do you believe you could catch up on payments? Yes, I can. I just need a chance. She leaned back, thinking. For a moment, the courtroom faded away. She remembered the warmth of his home, the sincerity in his eyes, the laughter of his daughter, and how he'd helped her with no expectation of anything in return. Finally, she spoke. I'm ruling for a 90-day stay of foreclosure proceedings. During that time, Mr. Brooks will submit a repayment plan and resume regular payments. If he adheres to this plan, the foreclosure will be dismissed. Daniel blinked in disbelief. 90 days. That was a miracle. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, he said, emotion thick in his voice. Judge Reynolds gave a small, knowing smile. Sometimes, Mr. Brooks, good deeds come back to us when we least expect them. As he left the courtroom, their eyes met briefly, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that fate had woven between them. Over the next few months, Daniel worked harder than ever. Word spread around town about his kindness and determination. Customers at the repair shop began tipping extra, friends pitched in odd jobs, and somehow, he managed to meet every payment. When he finally cleared his dues, he sent a small card to Judge Reynolds' office. You may have saved my house, but more than that, you restored my faith that the world still rewards kindness. Thank you, from me and Emily. He included a drawing Emily had made, a picture of their little home. Weeks later, there was a knock at his door. When he opened it, Judge Reynolds stood there, dressed casually, holding a bag of groceries and 2 cups of hot chocolate. "I was in the neighborhood," she said with a smile. "Thought I'd drop by and see how you two were doing." Emily squealed in delight. "The nice lady from the storm." Daniel laughed. "Come in, Your Honor, Claire." They sat together, sharing stories, laughter, and warmth. It wasn't about gratitude anymore, it was about friendship, about 2 lives that had crossed at exactly the right moment. That evening, as snow began to fall outside, Emily curled up on the couch and whispered, "Daddy, I think Mom sent her to us." Daniel smiled softly, eyes glistening. "Yeah, sweetheart. I think you might be right." Claire looked at them, her heart full. She had seen countless cases in her courtroom, so much greed, loss, and anger, but that night in the Brooks' little living room, surrounded by laughter and hope, she was reminded of something powerful. Sometimes the people who have the least give the most. And sometimes, when you help a stranger, you end up saving yourself, too. Daniel glanced at Claire and whispered to himself, maybe fate doesn't make mistakes after all. And for the first time in years, he truly believed it.